Emily Joy hails from Western Australia and she's taken her country pop sound to Nashville, London, and of course Tamworth. She's also been a Star Maker Grand Finalist and won a West Australian Country Music Award. And there's a lot more to her as an artist I'm really interested to ask about. Her latest single is Give Me a Shot or Two. It's by no means her least single because she's released quite a bit of music as well. Hello, Emily.
Hi, Sophie. Thank you so much for having me on today.
It's great to have you on. And yeah, I have lots of questions to ask you because you have an incredible musical pedigree and you are still a young woman. So you obviously started young and you've been performing, as I understand it, for well over a decade. So I'm wondering when and how you started.
Thank you so much for your kind words. Yes, I have. I feel like I've been performing forever. I was one of those kids. I started on the violin, but it wasn't really my thing. You know, some people make the violin sound beautiful, some people make the violin cry. Um, but that got me into music because my parents were like, you have to learn an instrument. So got into violin, then I got into guitar and singing and performing, and I think I've been doing it as my job now for about 11 years, which is crazy.
That's extraordinary, actually. I think it's hard enough to sustain 1 year as a working musician, let alone 11. But just back to you making the violin cry. Was it sort of like an immediate hate relationship where you just thought this is really not for me, or did you give it a crack for a while?
Oh no, I gave it a crack. I played it from age 7 to 17, so all the way throughout high school. But I wasn't, I think what I loved was I loved learning about the instrument and I loved being a part of the music community in school, but I just wasn't, like, I wasn't particularly good at it, if you know what I mean. I think I found my instrument. I think if you're musical, obviously you gravitate towards a certain instrument, and I think I found my instrument when I really focused on singing and playing guitar. That's where it really connected. But it was still a great experience, and learning violin taught me how to sight read music, um,
Mhm.
and still use things that I use when I'm coordinating with a band today, even though it's a string instrument. I feel like I understand how to read sheet music and timing and rhythm and everything like that. So yeah.
And you have a very cute pink string instrument over your shoulder there. I can see hanging on the wall. Different sort of strings, but still strings.
Yeah. I have a couple of Telecasters and then a nice, cute pink ukulele up there. I'm building up my collection. Ignore the other stuff. Sorry, I should have given you a prettier backdrop, but
No, I did. I wasn't looking at any other stuff apart from the pink because I am very drawn to
oh,
pink.
oh,
So
good.
just in terms of you talking about finding your instrument when you were starting to sing, does that mean that you actually were interested in singing first and then you gravitated towards guitar in order to support that? Or did you just happen to pick up guitar and think, well, maybe I'll give the singing thing a try?
No, I loved singing, and I would just sing around the house. And then one day, Mum asked me if I would like to do singing lessons. The reason she asked me that, aside from me singing, is that her mum had asked her that when she was a child, and she said no, and then she held on to that as a lifelong regret. So she
Oh.
wanted to give me that opportunity. So then I started singing, and I wasn't at the time into country music. I was only about 10 years old, and no one in my family listened to country music, so I didn't pick up on it. So I
Mhm,
was mainly doing singing pop music, I guess. So just
mhm.
singers with microphones, which was a lot of fun. But once I discovered like Miley Cyrus doing Hannah Montana, the country version of that in Nashville, and Taylor Swift, that's when I saw these girls are playing the guitar. Um,
Mhm.
and so that inspired me to pick up the guitar, and then yeah, one thing leads to another.
And I would think because you could read music, learning the guitar was probably a fairly swift entry to pick it, as opposed to just having to learn everything from scratch.
Yeah, it definitely helped me understand music theory, chord progression, what makes a chord, minors, keys, transposing. That made it easier. But like anyone who picks up a guitar, there is that painful period of adaptation where you have to wear your fingers in and build up the calluses, and it's painful and it's frustrating. But I think I probably did have mentally a bit of a head start, but I still had to push through the discomfort that can come when you first start learning an instrument.
Yeah. So were you also writing songs around the time you started guitar?
Yes, yep. So I started playing guitar around 16. I think I was writing songs when I was taking singing lessons. So I didn't have any instrument to accompany my voice, but I liked to write songs and sing melodies. And then once I picked up the guitar, I was like, oh, this is the chord that accompanies that. So
And so once you had the guitar in place, obviously then you're a portable band essentially. So that's the great thing about having an acoustic instrument is that you and a wonderful voice is that you can be a one woman band anywhere. So when you started to perform, was it just a sense of finding out who you were as a performer? But I guess by that stage you've been playing an instrument for a long time, so maybe you went out pretty strongly to start with.
In terms of being a performer.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I when I was doing singing, I kind of landed in the world of musical theatre, so I had a bit of an understanding of performance, I would say, through that with like drama and expression. But I don't think naturally being able to like work a crowd and entertain people
Mm.
and engage with them and connect with them. I don't know if it was there from the get-go for me. I feel like that's something that I've had to learn by just constantly getting out there and doing it and engaging with different crowds. Sometimes you have crowds that are feeding on every word that you're singing, and then sometimes you have crowds who are a bit less connected and you have to try and like wind them in.
Yeah.
Um, and I think I've had some tough crowds and some great crowds that have helped shape me and build up. So now it feels very natural, but I feel like I had to work to get there, if that makes sense. I really struggled with performance anxiety actually when I first started singing and playing guitar. I felt like I could do it in my bedroom really well, and then as soon as I would get on a stage, it's like it all went away and I would just shake, and that shaking would come through in my voice and it would just sound like ah. But I don't, unfortunately, I don't really get that nervous anymore just because I do it so much. So yeah, and I've got the confidence comes from repetition, I think. So yeah.
Well, and learning to be on stage with all sorts of different crowds is really tricky. I think you can only learn it by doing because you're never going to know until you get out there. And I did not find any mention of musical theatre in my research. So there you go.
No, we've buried that one.
But even then, I suppose you're part of a cast. It's not you on your own.
Mm, yes, yeah, unless you get the lead role. No.
Yes. But it also, the mention of musical theatre does lead me towards asking you about WAAPA. So that's the Western Australian Academy of Performing Arts, I think is what it stands for. Because you attended WAAPA, you've attended Berklee College of Music, you've attended the Academy of Country Music. So did you go into WAAPA for musical theatre or was it to be a singer-songwriter?
Yeah, so I actually went there twice. The first time I did a double degree in contemporary performance and theatre studies, which I think is was a performance degree, not necessarily music. It was more leaning towards acting and musical theatre and performance. And I did that straight out of high school. Everyone around me in school was going to university. I wanted to be a performer, but my mum and dad were like, no, you do, you go to university. So I picked like the least academic thing, went with the performance course. Um, and I enjoyed that, but I was still itching inside of me to really just, there's so many, when you're into creative arts and performing arts, usually you might dabble in a few things. There's dance, which I was never any good at, music, acting, voiceovers, also so many options. And I feel like I was dabbling in a little bit of all of them, but the music was the strongest passion. I just didn't realize I could make it into a career. So I think that's why I didn't pursue it from the get-go out of school. But doing that performance degree, by the end of that, I actually went over to the US. That's when I went to the US and I went to Berkeley and I studied in Colorado, and I took my first trip to Nashville, and that's when I thought, I'm gonna give this red hot crack.
Which is kind of scary in a way, isn't it? Because there were your parents saying, you have to go to university, which is understandable. A lot of parents would think that's an insurance policy against what comes next. It is a
Yeah.
conventional path to do that. Giving the life of a musician a red hot crack is not the conventional path. Even though there are a lot of musicians, it's still percentage-wise a very small part of the population. Did it
Yeah.
feel though like it was just because it seems to me with you talking about your background, this was inevitable in some ways. This was you had trained for it, you performed. It would seem like a logical next step, but did it feel a bit like jumping without a net at that stage?
I think I had a security blanket in that when I I started working as a musician, I was also teaching singing lessons in
Mm.
schools, and that would supplement probably 50% of my income at the time. So it was kind of like I was doing it, but not fully doing it in a way that was still safe, in a way that ticked my parents' box. They couldn't argue, right? They couldn't argue with me because I was still producing the dollars, so it was safe. But after, yeah, I think I taught singing lessons for about 6 or 7 years.
Mhm.
And it just got to the point where I did have enough regular work coming through performing that I could pause on the teaching. Actually, I haven't gone back since, and that's been great. But and just commit to music full time. And that did feel like a leap. Actually, that was the start of 2020. So I took the leap, and then COVID happened, and I fell. But uh, fortunately, in WA, we were less impacted by that. So I think we were locked down very minimally, and then things were reopening. So I was able to get back to performing very quickly.
Yes, it was the paradise of the West Coast, and I say this as someone living in New South Wales. We
Yeah.
were just seeing things on the television that was like, no, don't show us. It's too hard.
Oh,
But in you talking about that, about WA opening up again relatively quickly, it's actually now gelling with something that I'd been thinking when I was preparing my questions for you, which is that there's a lot of strength coming through in WA country music now. And I'm wondering if it actually is a bit of an outgrowth of the pandemic, in that you had that time to keep playing and maybe form community as well. And now, 2 or 3 years out of it, I'm seeing a lot of really strong music from the WA country music community. This is just my hypothesis. I don't know if you've got any experience that tallies with that.
yeah. I mean, as you know, like country music nationally has just taken off so much in the last 2 years in particular. And we've definitely seen that over here. It's been great to see. I feel like for a long time, big festivals and big country music concerts from national acts and international acts only ever happened on the East Coast. And now they're finally starting to come to the West Coast, which is crazy. Like, I never thought I'd be able to go see Lainey Wilson down the street. I've been in country music now for, yeah, about 12 years, and just never thought I'd see the day. I remember when I first started trying to get gigs here back in the day, I was told like country music doesn't belong in the city. So times have definitely changed. And I think we on the West Coast are reaping the benefits of what is happening nationally. Um,
Mm,
but and because country music is becoming more popular, it therefore influences more people. It influences the next generation, the younger generation coming through, and you do see like an uprising of more and more artists coming through, I
mm.
suppose. But as there's more country music events happening, yeah, it does mean that community is able to form because it's pulling everyone together.
Hmm. So you've been playing around 100 gigs a year for a while, and I would imagine that also means you have an acute awareness of what's happening with venues too. So are you seeing some shifts in venues as well, like maybe venues that you would never have played at, say, 2 years ago, who are now saying, okay, yes, we want a country music artist to play?
100%. It's so funny here. I feel like every single venue is now doing line dancing night Wednesday, line dancing night Thursday. Every day of the week, one venue has, got the reins on. And we've had specific country music venues now pop up that only do country music, like honky tonks. There's a bar in Fremantle called the Honky Tonk Blues Bar, which opened about 18 months ago, and it is packed out by 8 o'clock every Friday, Saturday night. It's even Wednesday night. It's so hard to get inside. So there definitely has been a change. And like I say, 12 years ago, I couldn't get my foot in the door with any of these venues, but now's a great time to be a country singer.
Yeah, absolutely. So you released your EP, your not wasn't self-titled. It was called
Oh, wow.
Parachute, I think. Oh, it was self-titled
Yeah.
in 2016, and obviously there was a break because you started releasing recorded music again last year. But I'm guessing due to all the study you had that you were studying in the middle there.
Actually, I did my studies prior to releasing that EP.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, yeah, no, I just finished up studying when I put out that first EP. And then I put it out 2016. I think I released another single 2017, and then I started taking trips to Nashville.
Mhm.
Um, and then COVID struck, and then I was staying put. I was in, to get deep with you, I was in a 7 year relationship with my guitarist, and we had met at university at WAAPA together. And then we broke up at the start of 2021, and we'd been together so long that it was very difficult, especially not just like having a normal relationship ending, but essentially also losing my guitarist, my business partner, like my best friend, everything. So there was a big adaptation, and I kind of took a year off from everything, and I went traveling. But throughout that time, even though I hadn't been releasing music, I had still been writing a lot.
Yeah.
So, and then I think to be honest, it kind of got to a point where I started to get a bit anxious about releasing again because it'd been so long. Um, and I have all these songs that are written in the bank, just waiting to be put out into the world. So I had to put on my big girl shoes last year, and um, eh, nothing brings me more joy in life than sharing my original music. So I have jumped back on the horse as of last year and giving it a red hot crack.
Yeah, because you released the song A Little Part of Me, and I was going to ask you why that was the right song to return with. But given what you've just mentioned about what happened prior to it, it seemed like you needed to have a bit of a heartbreaker to come back with.
Yeah, yeah. I wasn't sure. It was a ballad, so it's probably an interesting choice to come back with a ballad rather than up tempo. But I'd had that song sitting. I'd actually recorded it a few years prior, and it was just sitting on my laptop desktop. Every time I opened up my laptop, there it was staring right at me, and I always loved it. And I was like, I need to put this out into the world. Let's go. So.
And what I haven't asked you yet actually is when you went to the Academy of Country Music.
Oh, I think no, I did go in 2015.
Okay.
Um, so a while ago now, but that was great because I I was obviously I'm in the West Coast, and I felt very isolated from the rest of the Australian country music community. So it was a great thing in terms of just networking and me meeting a lot of people that I still associate with today. Um, so yeah, I'm really, really glad that I went and did that.
Yeah. There's also a bit of a, not, I don't want to say a straight line because it's not an automatic thing, but there is definitely a line between Academy and Star Maker grand finalists because I think Academy graduates are well represented in that. So obviously you made the decision to enter Star Maker. That is, for people who don't know, a competition that is not for beginners. It's for people who are established in their career and well, somewhat established and looking to move it on to the next stage. So for you at the stage you entered, was it a beneficial thing? Like out of that process, did you make some more contacts and write some more songs and do some travel?
Yeah, absolutely, definitely. Again, just having access to that kind of stage and that kind of competition, I was meeting so many people, not only my peers who are incredibly talented and who I have kept in contact with, who are also partaking in that competition, but the judges are all like amazing people. Adam and Brooke Eckersley were on there the year that I was doing it, and Cheryl, and heaps of people that are the right kind of people that you want to be meeting and that have made such an impact on the Australian country music scene. So to be in their realm, talking to them, was definitely a great step, and I'm really glad I did it.
Yeah. And obviously you have quite a background in performance. So hopefully that because I have been to one of the grand final nights and it's pretty full on. There's a lot happening. It's a big show.
Massive, isn't it? Yeah, and even just being able to play on that stage in Toyota Park is a highlight if you do that competition. Mm.
Yeah. So the second single you've released in recent times is the new one, which is Give Me a Shot or Two. Now, it's not about shots of drinks, so much about shots of love. So,
Yeah.
so I'm wondering if that was like the initial concept or if you started with the title and then worked it from there.
Yeah, actually, this was written in a very different style to how I usually write songs. So I received a instrumental demo, so just a production track with music. It had no lyrics, no words, no melody or anything like that. And I just listened to the instrumental and I could hear this like, "Hey boy, give me a shot or two," just playing over in my head. So I wrote the lyrics out and I wrote the melody, and yeah, so it was my partner at the time, so he had made that instrumental backing. I brought the music and words to it, and then it came together to be "Give Me a Shot or Two."
All right. Now, I did see that on your social media you did some fairly audacious content around this song, which involved a set of traffic lights.
You got to be in it to win it. Yeah, they tell you to think outside the box when you're promoting your songs. So I have been doing some fun things out in public to garner awareness and support for the song. And one of my favorite things to do is these traffic light stunts where what we do, I have like a couple of people helping me film it, helping me run across the road with my microphone and set it up for me. We wait for the traffic light to go red so the cars stop and for the walking man to go green.
Mhm.
And then we use that time when the walking man is green to I run out onto the road and I perform for those cars. So there's about 30 seconds there where I'm singing to those cars, and it's all legal because the man's green. You can use that time however you want. Some people walk across the road. I just choose to go and sing my heart out. But it's been a really fun thing. Just it puts such a smile on people's faces, that it really makes their day. And I've really, yeah, it's a lot of fun to do it. So I just thought it was something fun as well to do on social media that was a bit different, rather than just asking people to stream the song.
Yeah.
uh yeah, just trying to think outside the box.
Well, and I have to say, I was looking at it and thinking logistically, this has been extremely well done because you managed to get that mic stand down, and there was more than one camera angle happening, and also the sound quality was good. So
Oh,
this is this is excellent work.
it requires a lot of, yeah, yeah, there is a fair bit of detail from how miking me up and yeah, all of that. So I appreciate that you noticed the detail.
Yeah, well, I know my mind was boggling as to how you were doing it so quickly, but then there was a like almost like a blooper reel where there was obviously a take you'd attempted where the police were trying to get through the intersection.
Yes. So the full take of that blooper reel is coming out this week. But I always wondered what would happen if the police were in the traffic light audience. And the last time we went and shot, that exact thing is what happened. And I remember we ran out onto the road and I looked up and I started singing and I saw them straight away. I made eye contact and I just kept singing. I was like, this will be interesting. We'll see if they do anything. And I got about 30 seconds in, like I got to the very last line of the song, and then they put their sirens on, which was fair enough. But I think the funnest thing was like we stopped straight away. We got off the road. We went to the side, and they actually like they cut their siren straight away. They actually waved and clapped as they drove by. So I made it very dramatic on social media. Like, am I going to go to jail? But no, they were actually very supportive, which is nice. And like I say, I'm pretty sure the whole thing is legal because the man is green, and I get off the road before he goes red. So I think, yeah, it was all fun.
Well, if it weren't legal, I'm sure they would have done something about it rather
Yeah,
than
yeah,
rather
yeah,
than clapping and waving. So yeah,
true,
sounds like
true.
you're in the clear. Um, but also in the realm of playing live, you have recently done what looks like a pretty lovely tour of the West Coast because you've been to some very picturesque places by the look of social media. So did you go up the entirety of the coast?
The coast is very big.
It is. That's why I'm checking.
I did not go up the entirety of the coast. I went, I think, halfway. So that, which is still very far. I think it's about 13 hours one way, up to Exmouth, which is as far north as I went, which is the Ningaloo Reef. Are you familiar with the Ningaloo Reef?
I haven't been there, but whale sharks I know about at Ningaloo Reef. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So went up there, played shows along the way, and I'll be heading east in about 2 weeks. So I think all up, I'm doing about 5,000 kilometers over the next couple of weeks promoting the song, which is fun and exciting. I haven't I haven't been that far north or that far east within my own state actually. So, oh no, that is a lie. I have done a lot of shows in the Pilbara before, and a lot of mine sites, which are interesting out in the outback. But in terms of, yeah, I'd never visited Exmouth before. It's stunning up there. If you like the ocean, if you like beaching, surfing, snorkeling, swimming with whale sharks, I would highly recommend.
Well, that was a good bit of tourism promo for WA. At a mine site, do they have a venue already there for you to play in, or is it a makeshift stage? What happens?
Every time it's different. So a lot of the times that I go up and perform on mine sites, they're actually putting a lot of effort into making it a special evening where there's food trucks, there's bean bags, there's a stage, there's nice lighting, to really kind of give those workers something to like look forward to because it's so monotonous up there. It's Groundhog Day every day for them. So sometimes it's like that. Sometimes I'm just in the red dirt. um, yeah, it changes every time. Sometimes I'm in the tavern. Yeah,
So when you said you were heading east, does that mean east of the state or east of the country?
sorry, east of the state. So heading inland, probably halfway between here and South Australia.
Hmm. Because I often think with Australian country music artists having to drive large distances, that takes a lot of energy driving, and then you're performing. So do you try to break it up so that you're not necessarily performing on the day you drive, just because in your state there are huge distances between towns, far more than there are in any other state, apart from the Northern Territory, which is not a state, it's a territory. So,
Good question. It completely depends because most places would want someone to perform on a Friday or a Saturday night or a Sunday. So it depends what day of the week we head off driving, but I'm lucky I have a new man in my life and he has taken on the role of driver. So he's been doing all the driving, which has allowed me to kind of save my energy so that I can perform at night. Um, but yeah, it can be exhausting, especially when you go up and you do I think what we did was we did the massive drive on the Friday, 8 hours, got to Shark Bay, played the first show, second day, drove again another 7 hours to Exmouth, played the show. So those kind of weekends can be exhausting, but then by Monday you get to relax, and it's all a part of the fun, I suppose, as well. So
yeah. So you mentioned that before you released A Little Part of Me last year, and the latest single, Give Me a Shot or Two, you had written quite a few songs. So I'm guessing that you have plans to do some recording and releasing in the near to middle future.
you are correct. Yes, absolutely. So lots of songs in the bank. I want to be more consistent next year with my releases, because it has been a year since I put out A Little Part of Me that I put out Give Me a Shot or Two. So ideally pumping them out a bit more quicker, I think. So yeah, I'm gonna try and I think lay not lay low this year, but I think I'm gonna reserve my energy, get some songs recorded, and then next year hit them hard.
But look, as an independent artist, though, it is a big commitment and decision because you're self-financing, you're locating a producer if you don't have one on hand already, you're booking studio time, all of those sorts of things. So I totally understand when independent artists need to take some time between releases because I think that pressure to put out a single every 3 months is what it seems to be for streaming. It's a lot to keep up with.
It is, you are 100% correct, especially me and my perfectionism as well. Like, I want to do all the fun social media things to promote it. So I'll be thinking about it a month out in advance, but it's also like a huge financial cost. Like, I think, yeah, thousands and thousands of dollars. So I appreciate you acknowledging that. Yeah.
Well, especially because if you add a music video, which you have done, that's also it's not just an extra cost; it's an extra amount of production going on.
100%. Yeah, I think this single is like $10,000, honestly. By the time you do it, it's everything adds up. There's so many elements. So, yeah, I did do a music video for it. It was a lot of fun. We shot it at that honky tonk bar that I mentioned earlier. And I just my visions just go a bit wild. I wanted it to be like on the level of a Hollywood blockbuster film. So I went all out. So it's my own fault. I was just spending, but I was like, I want the dancers, I want the actors, I want the cowboys, I want the cowgirls, I want the bar, I want the band. So, but I'm really happy with how that video turned out. I think it's a lot of fun and it represents the song well.
And also you got to set it in a honky tonk bar, so even better. So do your future plans include the Tamworth Country Music Festival next year?
I am working that out at the moment, but I am hoping so because it has been a while since I was there. So, are you going to be there?
I'm not planning to at the moment, and I'm being frank about the reason. Accommodation defeats me. It's
Oh,
finding it, and finding it on the days you want, and all those sorts of things. And I think this is actually a major flaw in the festival. And I'm not the only person to talk about it and I have a bigger concern actually. This is possibly a digression, but for artists, because I tend to think artists are the reason the festival exists, and the fact that you all have to go and try to find somewhere to stay and then pay for it at the most expensive time of year in Tamworth makes it less than feasible for a lot of artists to be there, and that's a huge shame, and that's the heart of the festival. It's the substance of the festival basically under threat.
100%. I appreciate you acknowledging that. And I think that it is a lingering thing in my head as well as like I think I'm 50% on the way to thinking I will go, but there is that 50% going. The logistics of it are extremely um challenging, especially being this far away. But even if you're not this far away, like you said, just trying to get accommodation is such a hurdle. So food for thought.
Well, because I don't think artists should have to be intense because it's not secure for your instruments, for one thing. And you've got to, these are your tools. You need to put them somewhere. And it's so hot that it's not really feasible to be saying, why don't you stay outside in 40 degrees and then go and perform
A
for
hundred
months?
100%. And like I say, I used to go every year, but I haven't been the last couple of years. And even when I was going, it was so busy. So I can't imagine how busy it must be now.
But it also sounds like WA is keeping you and other country music artists busy enough. So you may not need to travel east. And you do have some country music festivals happening there. You've played the Muster in Perth, for example. There are others. Boy Up Brook. I know there are others at the top off the top of my head. They're not coming to me though.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Yeah, there is more and more starting to happen here, which is nice and exciting. And yeah, yeah, I'm glad that it's forcing East Coast acts to come this way a bit as well, which is cool.
Yeah, it sounds like it's high time for that. Well, Emily, it's been great to talk to you. The latest single is Give Me a Shot or Two. I look forward to finding out what new singles you will be recording and releasing next year. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. It was such a delight talking to you. Appreciate you.